Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back for another segment of It's Getting Real. This case. Ugh. Like a lot of the other cases that I've covered on this channel, this is yet another case that I feel like could have had a completely different outcome. But go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button as we begin. So it is May 18th, 2012, when 17-year-old Jonathan Hoffman desperately calls 911. He's asking for help. He wants assistance because he was pow-powed. To make matters worse, he is heard saying, "Help me." A pause as a bunch of additional pow-pows are heard by dispatch. Jonathan Hoffman was born on October 9th, 1994, to Michael and Jennifer Hoffman. He was described as intelligent, earning a full scholarship to Eastern Michigan University. He was goofy and happy and positive and funny and upbeat and caring and a good friend. So who knew that by 2012, he would have the ending that he had? So it's 2011 and the beginning of 2012. And Jonathan's life seems to be falling apart during various times because his family moved from Michigan to Arizona. His little sister is diagnosed with a non-malignant brain tumor, and his parents are splitting up. His parents are focused to tending to his sister, and him being the overprotective brother, he's more than okay with that. But he's finding that he misses family, and he misses friends, and he misses his school. He wants to come back to Michigan. So after a very short time, his grandmother, Sandra Lane, a 74-year-old retired school teacher, offers to take him in. Doesn't seem like a bad idea. His grandparents and him have always gotten along well, and they love him. It's his senior year. He wants to finish it out with his friends. Nice thought. You think your grandma's taking you in? You think everything is going to be okay, but it's not. Because according to Sandra, she did not know what she was getting herself into because she's unaware that her grandson has a problem. Drugs. Jonathan, at the young age of 17, is using mushrooms, and he is allegedly addicted to spice, a synthetic marijuana. I don't know if this came about as a result of him living there, if it happened before or after the move, when it started, but his parents didn't have this problem prior to him being with his grandparents. It wasn't mentioned of him having a problem until he was with them. It's said that the grandmother was determined to help Jonathan. So she had certain expectations. She was known as a strict parent to the point where her son-in-law didn't even really want the son to go stay with her in the first place, but his then soon-to-be ex-wife and his mother-in-law and his son thought it was a good idea. So she is strict. She is stern, but they still feel like he's going to be okay. She wants him to obey. She claims Jonathan won't listen, and he didn't want to listen. What he did instead was he kept being aggressive and he kept using drugs. So it's March 17th, 2011. Jonathan gets pulled over while driving. Police find drug paraphernalia and marijuana in his car. As a result of that, they take him in, they file charges. During a court hearing, he receives a 93-day suspended sentence, and he is placed on 12 months of probation. While on that probation, he is scheduled to have mandatory random drug testing. Friends are concerned because this isn't the Jonathan they know. The Jonathan that they know is the class clown. He's lighthearted and all these other things. The Jonathan that they know did not have a problem with drugs. But here, now he's seeming to have problems with it. So at this point, Jonathan and his grandmother keep having arguments. And each time they have an argument, the husband overhears it, but he doesn't interfere. It's just the grandmother and her grandson that are getting into it. Doesn't really make sense to me. I would want my husband to back me. I would want him to be by my side. But a lot of times she would send him away or tell him to leave out the room or whatever, because she was the I don't know, the more, I don't know what word I'm looking for. She was the one who did the punishment. Like, she was the enforcer. We'll say that. She was the enforcer. One occasion of the supposed issue, Sandra calls the police for assistance, claiming that she is scared of her grandson. The police come, but no arrests are made. Now, me personally, if I'm scared of you, then you need to get out of my house. And that would be the end of it. In this situation, I have an option. I can keep you here. I can send you away. I could tell you to go to rehab. I could tell your mom or your father to come and get you. I could say, police officers, I can't handle him. Take him away. But none of those options would be you staying in my house if I'm truly fearful of you. So grandma has all these options. Grandma doesn't take any of them. Instead, what she decides to do is she decides that she's going to go to the next best route, which is to go purchase a Glock 17. You heard me right. She purchases a weapon because she, in her words, is so fearful of what Jonathan and his friends would do. As I said, if you're so fearful, kick him out. There are laws in place that provide this as a thing. He's a minor. You still have control. So grandma sneaks out, purchases the weapon, and her husband doesn't even know anything about it. A few days after one of her many calls to the officers, Jonathan is taken to do his mandatory drug test. He's done it before, no big deal, until it shows up positive for spice. They have him take another test. That too shows up as positive. So his grandma is taking him home and she's hot. And she claims that on the ride home, he is volatile. He is kicking and he is being aggressive and he's using profanity. And at one point, she has to pull over the side of the road to wait for him to calm down. She says he wanted to go back to Arizona to be with his parents. And I said, no. If you're doing all of this, why are you saying no? Why don't you want him to go back? He wants to go back. He's causing you all these problems. Then let him go. So let's go ahead and fast forward to May 18, 2012. There is a major disagreement with Jonathan and his grandmother. Do we know the extent of it? No, because at this point, we know that he called a friend to talk about how he needed to come over and he was going to be on his way over there. And we know what the grandma says, which we can't believe. So a 911 call is placed from the condo where his grandparents stay later that evening. I think, if I remember, it was around 5. Jonathan says, I've just been shot. Dispatch says, okay, how did you get shot? I guess they didn't think, like, at first to believe it. No, maybe they did. It's protocol. Let me not say that. He says, my grandma shot me. Dispatch is like, your grandma and grandpa shot you? He says, my grandma, I'm going to die. Help. Y'all, I'm telling you like this. I listened to the call and it broke my heart because that baby was on that phone for minutes waiting for help and pleading for help. So he's on the phone for a few minutes. He explains that he got hit in the chest. The operator dispatch reassures him, help is on the way. I've called them. Anyone who's ever been in a situation where they need emergency assistance, they know that a couple of seconds feels like minutes, minutes feel like hours. So I can't begin to imagine how Jonathan was feeling how that young man was feeling knowing that he was shot in the chest and that he was waiting on help and that his grandmother was the one who did it. So on the 911 call, you can hear him as he's struggling to breathe, as he's gasping and gurgling in between his responses to dispatch. He's asked where his grandma is. He thinks she left, but he doesn't know where exactly she is. Keep that in mind, because this 911 call ends up being very important, y'all. Okay? At least to me. You then hear silence for about a minute. Then you hear more shots. Turns out that grandma left to go reload her gun so that she can come back and fire additional shots. Jonathan is heard on the call, crying out, saying, "Ow, help me. I got shot again." I can't fathom, as a person, being pushed to the point where I'm aiming a weapon at someone that I'm supposed to love and I'm firing multiple times. I can't be pushed to that point. If I ever feel like I am going to be pushed to that point, lock me up. Put me in the insane asylum, because this is ridiculous. And I'm not trying to make fun of anyone, because I do understand that there are people who are put at breaking points. This is not that type of situation. This boy using drugs, being addicted to drugs allegedly, or whatever that situation was, did not call for this response. So the grandmother, who is, in my opinion, trying to cover her butt, is heard because she realizes he's on the phone yelling, "Let go, let go," as if he's holding on to this weapon. These are his last moments. He ain't holding on to this weapon. He's trying to hold on to his life. The boy could barely breathe before she aimed the other times. He was heard on the phone, gasping and struggling to breathe. So do we really think that after the initial shots were fired, after he was initially hit in the chest, that this guy, that this young man, that this boy is trying to cause her harm in this moment when he was on the phone begging for help? I think not. So police arrive. Sandra is standing behind the screen door, holding the weapon, trying to fake like she's so distraught. She immediately admits that she did this, and she throws the weapon down. Police place her in handcuffs and take her into the police station, where she, with her evil self, claims self-defense. It is quickly determined that Jonathan was shot 5 times. 3 in the chest, 1 in the abdomen, and 1 in his left arm. His grandma gets charged with possession of a firearm and the commission of a felony and open murder. Okay, what is open murder? Open murder is a charge that is a combination of either first degree and second degree murder. In my opinion, the fact that she left and did what she did and came back and aimed some more, it should have not even been a question of whether it would be first or second. It should have automatically been first. But the jury in these instances are given the responsibility of determining what the appropriate degree should be for the trial. So during her trial, her defense tries to talk about the importance of knowing how she felt during that moment and how she felt about Jonathan and his parents, saying that she feared his drug use and his violent outbursts and, any future negative behavior that he may have had. And that's why, she purchased the gun, but she had other options. Supposedly, according to her, at least what she says on the stand, and I attached a clip, well, not a clip, but a link on YouTube where you can see her. She allegedly made attempts to raise awareness to his parents, but they were ignored. I don't buy it, but okay. So let's get back. According to her, on the day of the event, after he failed the test, she claims he demanded money and a car to leave the city so that he wouldn't have to go to jail because he was afraid he was going to go to jail because he failed. She refused to give him the keys. So he attacks her, and then she fires the gun in self-defense. So here's my question. Which time? Did he attack her while he was on the phone with 911 begging for help? Because that story doesn't make sense. Prosecution is like, we're not buying that. That little innocent grandma act that she's trying to show y'all because she's in her 70s and she's oh so demure and she used to be a teacher and all that other stuff. Say that act for somebody else. They point out that Jonathan wasn't even dressed in a full manner at least, because he had on some things, but not like he was trying to go out or anything when his body was found. They say if he was planning on leaving, he would have had more clothes on. Forensic evidence proves that she fired her gun 10 times. 10 times, you guys. But this is self-defense. To me, that alone proves that she wanted to unalive him. It proves that she had intent of murder rather than self-defense, because he was already disabled when you shot him when he went to call 911. They heard it. You can hear it. They played it for the jury. Let's add to that he supposedly attacked her. But when she was taken in, police didn't see any visible injuries on her. But he attacked you. You don't have any bruises, any scratches, any lumps, any bumps, nothing. But he attacked you. According to the prosecution, they believe that Sandra chased him around the house and repeatedly shot at him because she was over it. She was tired of him. And as her teenage grandson, stood in the bathroom in his shorts and his socks, about to go out and visit the friend that he texted, she shoots him in the bathroom. He's trying to escape. He gets into his bedroom and she shoots him again in his bedroom. Now, media reports vary on it, but she shot him in more than one room. But as he's begging for his life while laying on his bedroom floor, she goes to leave the room, which is when the dispatcher asks where she's at. And he says she left, not to get him help, but to reload. Jennifer, Jonathan's mother, said everything she said in her statement was a lie. She's a complete narcissist and a liar. I wish I had seen signs of how evil she was before I left her with my son. Jonathan's father explained that she put on her war paint and went gunning for my son. That's what she did, minus the paint, but she treated him like he was less than human. And this was supposed to be the grandson that she loved. The jury spent a while trying to figure out the charge. They eventually settled on second-degree murder. I don't agree with it. She's sentenced to 20 to 40 years in jail. Lawyers feel like she won't even live long enough to ever experience freedom again. Good. She shouldn't. I want to read a comment that I saw in one of the many clips that I watched that I feel is perfect for this. After hearing that phone call and her interview, it makes me sick. Lying through her teeth to the interviewer, the crocodile tears, the clear pauses when she is making up her answers as she goes along. I am disgusted by the cruelty of this woman. That poor kid was absolutely terrified. He not only called the police begging for help, but he also called his friend for the same reason. I didn't include it much in here, but on one of the interviews, there was a young man that said that his friend had called him trying to get help because of how the grandma was asking, and he was going to come over there that day. He also asked his neighbor for help too. A 17-year-old child terrified for his life from the person that should have loved him the most. I don't think people realize sometimes how young 17 is. He wasn't old enough to legally get a tattoo. He couldn't vote. He couldn't buy alcohol or cigarettes or rent a car. He wasn't old enough to get married without parental consent, to buy spray paint, to get certain medication, or to request his own government documentation. He wasn't even old enough to be a part of the very jury that presided over his murder trial or to purchase the type of weapon that killed him. I don't care how much she tries to deny it. He was a child that relied on her when his family needed her most. And instead, she emptied a magazine into him because of an addiction she could have been getting him treatment for. This was no way self-defense or a struggle. She was angry at a 17-year-old kid and then murdered him in cold blood as punishment for failing a simple drug test. He was a child. There is a special place for people that hurt children, and especially for those that hurt the children that depend on them. And that's right. It's so sad when you think about it. He was at the finish line. Evil exists in all shapes, sizes, and colors. This young man was known for his abilities. He was technologically savvy. He was gifted, they said, in technology. He could have been anything. Like he could have been the next creator of something far beyond our imaginations, but instead his life was snuffed out because of an addiction. It's sad. You all let me know what you think of this one. Rest in peace, Jonathan. Until next time.